The fastest lap of the Singapore GP wasn't set by Lando Norris, the dominant winner, nor by Max Verstappen, the current championship leader. Surprisingly, it was Daniel Ricciardo, who finished in 18th place. But what's behind this unexpected strategy? Could it be that the Red Bull is using its sister team, Racing Bulls, to influence the championship? And why might this fastest lap be so significant for Ricciardo's future in Formula One? In this video, we're diving deep into the turbulent waters of F1 politics. We'll examine the controversial decision by Racing Bulls to put Ricciardo on the fastest lap and how this might have impacted the title battle between Verstappen and Norris. We'll also explore the ethical implications of having A and B teams on the grid and how this might be shaping the sport's future. Additionally, we'll discuss whether this performance was a farewell gift for Ricciardo, who might be making his last appearances in F1. With rumors swirling about his future and even winning the Driver of the Day award, could the Australian be preparing to say goodbye? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything, and let's get to it. The 2024 Singapore GP will be remembered not just for Lando Norris's dominant victory, but also for an unexpected event in the race's final moments. Daniel Ricciardo, driving for Racing Bulls, surprised everyone by setting the fastest lap of the race, even though he finished in 18th place, well outside the points. But how did this happen? Racing Bulls' strategy was bold and, to many, questionable. In the penultimate lap of the race, the team called Ricciardo into the pits, equipping his car with fresh, soft tires. With a clear track ahead and fresh tires under his feet, the Australian had the perfect opportunity to aim for the fastest lap. The result was impressive. Ricciardo clocked a 1:34.486, even beating the leader Norris, who had a comfortable advantage up front. This seemingly insignificant move for Ricciardo's final position ended up having much larger implications for the championship as a whole. But why would a team invest in a strategy that doesn't directly benefit its driver? The answer may lie in the complex relationships between teams in Formula One. Racing Bulls' decision to go for the fastest lap with Ricciardo raised many eyebrows in the paddock. The immediate suspicion was that Red Bull, Racing Bulls' parent team, might be behind this strategy. Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren, was one of the first to question the legality of this tactic. In his words, "This is a Team AB thing that I didn't think was allowed. But this isn't the first time we've seen it, and it probably won't be the last." Brown argued that this maneuver illustrates the problem of close relationships between certain teams in F1. The central question is, could Red Bull be using its sister team to influence the championship in favor of Max Verstappen? After all, by denying the extra fastest lap point to Norris, Verstappen's main championship rival, Red Bull might be indirectly helping its star driver. Christian Horner, head of Red Bull, was quick to deny any interference. He stated, "Racing Bulls stopped and did the fastest lap at the end of the race. There's nothing more to it." Horner further argued that every team has its own independence. Regardless of the intentions behind the decision, the impact on the championship is undeniable. To understand the true weight of this fastest lap, we need to look at F1's point system. Besides the points awarded for finishing positions, there's an extra point given to the driver who sets the fastest lap, provided they finish in the top 10. Since Ricciardo finished in 18th, he didn't receive the point, but effectively took it away from Norris, who likely would have claimed it. This single point might seem insignificant at first glance, but in a tight season like 2024, every point counts. After the Singapore GP, the gap between Verstappen and Norris in the championship stands at 52 points. Had Norris managed the fastest lap, this gap would be 51 points. In a hypothetical scenario where Norris wins all the remaining races and Verstappen finishes second, this single point could be the difference between winning or losing the championship. That's why many see Racing Bull's strategy as a calculated move to benefit Verstappen and Red Bull in the title fight. Moreover, this situation reignites the debate over the fairness of having such closely linked teams competing in the same championship. If Racing Bulls can influence the championship outcome in favor of Red Bull, it raises serious questions about the competition's integrity. While the controversy over the fastest lap unfolds, we can't ignore that this might have been Daniel Ricciardo's last race in Formula One. The Australian, known for his contagious smile and charismatic personality, seems to be at a career crossroads. Ricciardo returned to F1 midway through the 2023 season. However, his performance hasn't been as expected, and rumors about his replacement by the young and promising Liam Lawson are growing stronger. Interestingly, despite finishing in 18th place, Ricciardo was voted Driver of the Day by fans. This gesture can be seen as a heartfelt farewell from fans, recognizing his contribution to the sport over the years. Ricciardo's emotions after the race were palpable. He spent an unusually long time in the car after crossing the finish line, as if absorbing every final second of his F1 journey. In post-race interviews, Ricciardo was evasive about his future, but his words carried a tone of finality. "If this is it, it was quite a race to finish," he said, adding, "I'm grateful for every moment I had here." The fastest lap in this context gains a new meaning. It might have been Ricciardo's last hurrah, a chance to show he still has speed, even if it didn't translate into consistent results. Ricciardo's fastest lap reignited a debate that has been ongoing for years in F1, the issue of so-called B teams. Currently, we have situations where bigger teams like Red Bull have close relationships with smaller teams like Racing Bulls. Proponents of this model argue that it allows smaller teams to survive financially and access technologies that would otherwise be beyond their reach. This, in theory, could make the grid more competitive overall. On the other hand, critics, like McLaren's Zach Brown, argue that this structure creates an unfair imbalance. Independent teams like McLaren, Williams, and Sauber find themselves competing not just against a rival team, but against a block of aligned teams. The FIA is aware of these concerns. Recently, changes were proposed to limit collaboration between teams. This includes restrictions on sharing aerodynamic data and using wind tunnels. However, implementing these rules is complex. How exactly do you define what constitutes unfair collaboration? Where do you draw the line between acceptable cooperation and an unfair advantage? Moreover, there's the financial aspect to consider. Smaller teams argue that without some form of partnership with bigger teams, they simply couldn't survive in the increasingly expensive sport that F1 has become. The situation we saw at the Singapore GP is just the tip of the iceberg of much larger issues F1 needs to tackle. Daniel Ricciardo's fastest lap, possibly his last great contribution to the sport, leaves us with more questions than answers. It makes us question not just race strategies, but the very structure of the sport we love. Will F1 be able to find a balance between allowing collaborations that keep the grid full and competitive and ensuring fair competition for all teams? As fans, we have an important role in this debate. Our voices, our passion for the sport, can influence the decisions that will shape F1's future. So, what do you think? Does F1 need drastic changes to its team structure, or is the current system with its pros and cons the best we can have? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Keep following our channel for more analysis from the world of speed. See you at the next race.